Hello, my loves. It's Dina from No Fear, Just Flow.
And Julia with Jay's Massage.
So Julia and I have known each other for 2 years now.
Yeah.
Yes, and we met working together. Julia is a massage therapist, both with humans and horses. And I am a regenerative detoxification specialist. So basically what that means is that I help people clean their insides out and also teach people the art of fasting and how to live a healthy lifestyle. Yes. So Julia and I have been going through a lot of changes the last couple of years together, inspiring each other to be healthier. And I have given up quite a few addictions, but we got on this conversation about the addiction to food.
Yep.
And how most people have it. And that we're not very real with ourselves about the fact that we are, in fact, addicted to food. And that food is the one thing that will change your lifestyle. So whether you're diseased, discomforted, not sleeping well, overweight, underweight, the one thing that can change all of that is a healthier relationship with food. You have to feed yourself nourishing foods. But there's so many bad foods out there.
There's a lot of bad foods. And then I think the other day we were talking too, I think people don't realize how much they almost idolize food.
Yes.
As it becomes like a focal point for things in life. We always think of idols or, the things that are taking you away from like God kind of thing. It's always like, oh, it's drugs, it's alcohol, it's watching TV, oh, it's sports and celebrities. Like those are the things that we idolize and all that stuff. And I don't think we realize that idols aren't anything that are taking our distraction in life. And food is that thing that takes a lot of people's distraction. They're always thinking about what their next meal is going to be. Anytime you have some sort of a gathering, you're like, what food am I going to make? The holidays, we're thinking about food. Anytime we're sitting down to watch TV or movie, it's like, oh, let me grab a snack, let me get food. Or I'm sitting at home and I'm bored, we go and grab food. We always grab food.
Yes, and it's how we reward ourselves a lot of the time. And the thing is that would be fine if you were rewarding yourself with good food. Like now that I'm getting into God and talking about the Bible and reading the Bible, like Genesis 1 literally talks about fruit of the spirit, fruit on the trees. Like this is what God gave us to eat, yet most people stay away from it because they have been brainwashed to believe that it is filled with sugar. And that's ludicrous. Fruit is literally energy for our bodies, vegetables as well. But most of us are eating chemicals, sugar, which I would debate that sugar is the most addictive thing on the planet, even more addictive than drugs.
Oh yeah.
Because most of us eat
it.
It's
easy, sweet.
Yeah.
Grab a cookie, grab a candy, whether it's a chocolatey candy or,
sure,
sour candies
and people
or whatever.
don't even realize that sugar's in like tomato sauce or ketchup or bread or, most of the drinks that they eat. Like we just bought plain chocolate today because we're going to make one of our chocolatey treats, but it's dark chocolate, no sugar added.
There's literally 100% chocolate.
Just chocolate, because chocolate is good for you. It's the sugar that's not. So what do? Obviously, we're not going to eat plain chocolate. It's so bitter. We're adding maple syrup to it. So there are healthy sweeteners out there like coconut sugar and maple syrup and monk fruit and fruit in general that can sweeten honey, that can sweeten things. But we are addicted to man-made sugars and people don't want to give them up. And then they want to go to the doctor and they want the doctor to find some miraculous cure for them. And doctors are not trained in nutrition. They're not. And it's disgusting. It would be like a car mechanic not understanding about the fluids that go into a car. Your car would literally die if your mechanic didn't understand the fluids that go into it. And so we are killing ourselves with this food and we're not admitting to that addiction.
Right.
We give up everything else, but we don't want to give up a candy bar. Or we don't.
That's the thing. Like food isn't supposed to be this thing that we just we're supposed to use it for energy. It's supposed to nourish our bodies, to allow our bodies to function. And we've taken food and given it a different label practically. It's like when you want to hang out with somebody, what do? You go out and get lunch or you go out to dinner or something like that. Like I said, we worship food and the idea of food. And I don't think anyone wants to stand up for it. And that causes so many health things in our life. And then it kind of then people have health issues,
Right.
and nobody wants to admit that those health issues come from their food addiction
Right.
and how much they worship the food
Yes.
that they're eating, or the fact that they can't give up certain foods, or they
Yeah.
don't want to read the labels on food because they like that food.
Right. So you're not honest with yourself.
Mhm.
And that's the thing.
That's
Like,
addiction.
Yeah, it is addiction, is lying to yourself. And it's all over the TV. It's all over the radio. It's like when you come home from work, you're smelling it everywhere, anywhere you go. So it's not people's fault. It's really not.
And it becomes your habit. You know, your
Yeah.
break at lunch, what are you supposed to do on your break at lunch? Eat food.
We've
What do
been
you do as soon as you
designed
get home
this
from
way.
work?
Yeah.
You make dinner.
Right.
What do you do when you get up in the morning in the middle of getting ready? You make for
Yeah.
breakfast, and you make people who drink coffee and all that, or tea, or whatever they
And
drink
when
at
you
breakfast.
fast, you realize how little food you actually need. Like you can go 30 days with just water and you're not going to die. That's just a fact. I'm not suggesting that you do that, although you would feel amazing at the end of it. You would not die. When people say they're hungry, I always say, you don't even know what hunger is, because most of us have never felt real hunger in this world. And I love to fast, but I also like to hang out with people. And so I find myself having to break my fast because I want to hang out with people. And there aren't restaurants really, especially where we live, that have healthy food options. And people are like, well, eat a salad, fine, but you have to bring your own dressing, because all dressing in restaurants has sugar in it.
Yeah. And I think it becomes ingrained to us too. Like, how often, like, do you go somewhere and hang out with friends and you're really not hungry, but they're eating that cheese and cracker board, or they're getting that dessert, and you feel like you have to get that dessert. And then it's like, oh, yeah. Then you start eating and you don't really need it. That's
the way it is.
It's ingrained in us to be that way.
I love that you call it like a worshiping of an idol, because we're not supposed to worship anything but God, really. And, here we are worshiping food, and we do. And people don't talk about that. And it's so very true. So I give you, credit for putting it
I was
that
reading
way.
the Bible the other day, and we were talking about idols, and Matthew was talking about it. And then I was like, food.
Matthew
Food's
talks
an
about
idol.
fasting too. I just highlighted that part in the Bible. There's a lot about fruit and a lot about fasting in the Bible. And I'm new to the Bible. I'm new to God. Well, God's not new to me, but I'm new to him. And it's fascinating to me that it's all there. But I think so many people have had the Bible ingrained in them, and they've been with it, that they really forget what's said. And so when I remind people, they're like, oh, I forgot about that. Like, yes, God gave us fruit. He did. And we're afraid of it. And that's ridiculous. And I just watched something that said that our health really started to decline when the FDA, when the FDA came out with the food pyramid and told us that we needed all these other foods, and told us what categories to eat in, and that we needed more grains. And that's when our food declined. And I think a lot of people don't know, and you can fact check me, that when tobacco companies were sued and they all shut down, they did not go away. They invested their money in the food industry. And then the food industry became toxic. But we don't talk about that because there's no shame in eating French fries or eating a candy bar or ice cream or any of these things. And so, like, smoking a cigarette was a shameful thing. People would hide away, or, oh, you're a cigarette smoker. Well, we should be like, oh, you're a candy bar eater. Like, you're killing yourself. You are, with this food. And I do it too. Like, listen, I just went off the rails for a month, and I know better.
Yeah, when we talk about these things, we're not like trying to sit here
No,
and
we're
shame
not
anyone.
better
We go through it. We're with you guys. We
Yes.
deal with it.
We
do really well for 3 months, and then we fall off for 3 weeks, and whatever it is. But we want to help other people become aware.
Yes.
We feel it. We've done the fasting. We've done the cleansing. We understand that. And so we want people to, we want to get sparks going for people so they can start looking into it.
Yeah, and the more of us that feel better, the more we raise the vibration. And I think that we decided this year we were going to be very honest with ourselves about our food addiction, because it just dawned on me, like, I've given up so many things now that I'm following God and listening to him and wanting to quiet my mind. But as I was sitting here eating like my 12th pastry from the bakery shop, that's where I went.
I ate lots of cookies over Christmas break.
I was realizing, like, girl, you have an addiction. And we spent New Year's Eve together, like, preparing for the new year. What was that, 5 days ago? and we felt awful.
Yeah.
We did. We felt
We
awful.
did. We ate cheese boards and
We ate
crackers.
cheese boards and we
and
were like, oh my God, we feel awful. And now
but
we're
it tastes good because
tastes
it's addicting.
so good. But now we're 5 days into the new year and we just did a workout together. I have so much more energy already.
You have a lot of energy. Get out and move too. Like,
Yeah.
add that into your life.
Absolutely. But really start being honest with yourself about what your addictions are and how much mindless eating you do. And please know that there are better alternatives. We just made maple syrup candy.
Pure maple syrup, not pancake syrup, nothing
it's
added to
so
it. Straight from a
delicious.
tree,
Yes.
straight from nature.
We call it holy crack. And then we're making some little chocolate balls, energy balls that have plain chocolate, maple syrup, almond butter with no added things but almonds.
Same with maple syrup, nothing added.
Coconut.
Did you say dates?
Dates.
Cinnamon.
Ceylon cinnamon, and then we're going to roll it in pumpkin seeds for a little crunch. And they're delicious and they're nutritious and they're energy. So that's the thing. God put food here for energy. Food that's grown in a lab is not energy. And now all of a sudden they're messing with our fruit. That's the Bill Gates organization. Oops. But they're messing with our fruit because I saw this study one time that was done that I used to show to my clients and I can't find it anymore. It was done by the Gates Foundation probably 15 years ago. And it was done like 500 or 5,000 healthcare providers. And they were asked the question, what's the one thing that prevents people from being healthy? And the answer was not eating enough fruit. It was more important to eat fruit, according to this study, than it was to quit smoking. And then the study disappeared over COVID.
I remember when I was a kid, it was always like an apple a day keeps the doctor away.
Yes.
And why that's not said anymore, why don't we talk about that?
Because it's not profitable to be healthy. That's the bottom line. There's so much money in all this food that they feed us.
So much of the world's sickness and autoimmune issues, like 95% of it is food. Unless you're like
an accident,
you tear
born
2
with
ACLs,
or a genetic disorder. But also, a lot of accidents could probably be prevented if you were healthier because your body has this beautiful way to repair itself. Like certainly not if you cut a finger off or whatever, but a lot of your issues, and then you say, oh, it's just genetic. No, it's not. It's literally years, decades, generations of people not eating healthy. That's what makes it genetic.
Yeah. People can't get over sickness. They get sick in the wintertime all the time. You know, they've got all the autoimmune stuff that came up as they've gotten older and they have to go and start taking all these, they can't eat real food. Well, you can eat real food. You can't eat the fake food that people say you should be eating. Like these things are coming up. It's food related.
Yeah. And you were beautifully made by God. Like you're a beautiful human being and you're supposed to be eating the foods that God gave us here. So basically, if it's grown from the earth, eat it. If you don't have to cook it, even better, because when we cook food, we cook the life out of it. And just be real with yourself. Be kind to yourself too. Like even if you're struggling with a food addiction, at least talk nicely to yourself. That's so important because we all have addictions. We all have struggles. And when you're not kind to yourself, but you're kind to everyone else, you hear that. So it's important.
And if you're not ready to jump in and do a complete cleanse sweep kind of thing, like take little steps at a time by starting with an apple every morning. And switching out anything that's got an artificial sweetener to one of the natural sweeteners.
Ones. Don't go through the drive-thrus.
Try to make yourself, like, we have a video on like date candies kind of thing. And it's not a candy bar, it's not a Snickers or Reese's or whatever, it's real food. But into
try to fast.
A delicious treat kind of thing and start making those little swaps.
Yeah.
And then when you're ready to do a cleanse, because I do think there's a big mental thing when it comes to do a 3-day fruit cleanse where all you eat is fruit.
Yes.
Or
make sure your kidneys are filtering. We did a video about urine and how important it is to make sure that the toxicity is leaving your body. I really should promote my book more.
Dina has a book.
I have a book. I don't talk about it much, but it's all about how to fast your way into good health. So anyway, just be kind to yourself. There's so much going on right now in the food industry, and we are about to see a big shift. They're about to take fluoride out of the water, which is a whole nother conversation we could have. They're about to try to take the poisons and the toxins out of cereals and let us know that cereal's not good for us. And like, there's so much going on. So tune in and pay attention to the good stuff that's happening.
Mhm.
and tune out of the bad stuff and love yourself, nourish yourself, nurture yourself, and feed yourself the good, loving foods that God gave us.
Yeah, and set a little goal for yourself too. Like, I think it'd be good for us too. It's like if we find ourselves like in thought thinking about food, just being like, nope, cut that off. Think about something else, because more than likely you're really not hungry, and people are going to say all the time, I'm hungry.
I'm hungry. I'm
If
hungry.
all you're
I'm
doing
hungry.
is sitting around watching TV at home and you've already had dinner,
Yes.
you're probably not hungry.
Right. Yeah, I would say you're probably not hungry in general. And prepare things. Like there's great people online that have tons of great recipes. We just saw a recipe for chickpeas with chocolate and peanut butter that supposedly tastes like Reese's Puffs. And they do. Maybe not right away for people that are just learning, but eventually, once you get away from the sugar addiction, all of this other food starts to taste good. You
Yeah.
are worth it. I think a lot of people have worthiness wounds too, where they don't feel worthy of a good, healthy life. And so they punish themselves, and they don't understand that every bit of sugar they eat is a punishment, you know?
Yeah.
So anyway, so let's just do better. Let's strive to thrive
In 2025.
in 2025. You are loved. Like, subscribe, comment, follow us. Tell us what your thoughts are. If you feel like you have addictions and what you've done to break those. And let's stick to our resolutions this year. But the best way to stick to your resolution is by loving yourself first. All right.